Hi everyone, and welcome to Creative Chelsea. Today I'm excited to be sharing with you my October 2022 Artisan Design Team Showcase project that I created for Stampin' Up's Facebook and Instagram social pages. If you are new to my channel and want to see more of my videos, click on the subscribe button and then the bell for notifications. I would love to be your Stampin' Up demonstrator and help you with any of your paper crafting needs. To purchase any of the products you see me use today, you can visit my online store and the link is in the description below. So these two beautiful holiday themed cards are created using the Sweet Gingerbread Bundle, and that includes this really great stamp set and the gingerbread house dies. And when you purchase these two products together as a bundle, you can get 10% off the total price, and that is already reflected in the price online. So, and you want to do that before December 2022 when this product will probably retire because it's in the mini July through December catalog. So today I'd like to share with you some fun techniques that I use to create these cards. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to share with you is how I stamped the gingerbread house. Now these images are photopolymer, which I love because it's easy to place the images because you can see through them. However, sometimes with a solid photopolymer stamp, it's a little tricky to get a nice crisp image. So I've got a couple techniques here for you. So the first thing is that you just place your photopolymer stamp on your clear block, and I like to use Versamark, and what this is going to do is create a tacky ink on the stamp that's going to hold the ink from my ink pad. And then I'm just going to go ahead and stamp that onto my paper, and you can see that you get a nice solid image. So after you have stamped your gingerbread house, I want to add some of these beautiful white details around the windows, door, and then these little filigrees. So I'm going to emboss those. And whenever you emboss over a stamped image, you want to use an embossing buddy. And that is going to lay down a little bit of powder so that the embossing powder doesn't stick to your stamped image and only sticks to the Versamark. So you're going to next ink up your stamp in Versamark and stamp that where you want it. So that's the filigree, and here is the detail around the window and door frame. And you can see slightly that you can see the ink slightly. And then you just take your white embossing powder and lay it on top and then tap off the excess. I like to scoop my embossing powder onto my paper rather than put my paper in the embossing powder because it keeps it off of the back and I don't get any excess powder that way. All right, so then next you're going to take your heat tool and you're going to heat it up until the white is melted and shiny. All right, so you're going to get an image that looks like this. Now you'll notice that I heated it from the back, and I like to do this because I think it gives me a smoother look to my heat embossing because I'm not blowing the powder off of a drying ink, the Versamark ink, and so that's just a personal preference. So next we're going to take the gingerbread house die that coordinates with the stamp, and you're just going to place that right over the image, and you can run that through your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and you're going to end up with something that looks like this. And I actually have done that twice. And if you're a little concerned about the powder, just take a soft microfiber cloth and you can rub that powder right off, the embossing buddy powder. Okay. All right. So the next step is to create all these cute details that go in the house. And I have already stamped and cut out a lot of those details and just added them to my silicone craft sheet. The only thing that I wanted to share with you was how I did this really cute puffy. So this is the Snowfall Accent Puff Paint from Stampin' Up. And it gave me this really cute puffy accent for the roof. And I just want to share with you that quick tip, and then we'll put all those cute details onto our house. So to do that, I'm going to start by cutting out my roof line from some basic white cardstock. Then you're going to take a sticky note or some scratch paper, and you're going to apply that to the sticky area. So the sticky area is on the top, and I've added my roof line there. Then it does say to shake well before you use it. So make sure to shake it up. And you're going to apply it right on top of your basic white cardstock. And you can go right to the edge if you want. And you do want it to be thick enough that it kind of bubbles, but not too thick. I'll give you a close-up of that. Can you see that? So just like a little bit of like icing kind of. And then you take your heat tool, and I have been using my heat tool on the hottest setting, but if you feel like it's too hot, you can always turn it down. And then you do need to heat it from the top. And then as it dries, you'll see it start to puff up, and you get this really cute accent piece for your gingerbread house. Okay, so I've done those as well. So let's go ahead and start to add everything to our houses. Now there's a couple different things that I've done. Each house has 2 windows, and I'm just going to pop those right in. I've done both of these windows in Coastal Cabana ink. They're pretty easy to do. You just stamp them and cut them out with the coordinating dies. And I'm just adding these with a glue dot so that they're nice and flat. Now for this house, I have a door in soft suede. And then for this house, I did the door in Granny Apple Green. And I do want to mention that I stamped my gingerbread house in crumb cake. Now for my first card, I wanted a little peppermint. And so what I did is I took the lollipop image and I only inked up the top and stamped it. And I stamped that in polished pink because I wanted a nice bright pink color. And then for my second house, I wanted a cute wreath. And so to do this, I stamped everything in polished pink and cut that out, and then stamped again just the leaves in this color. I wanted a little darker, so I did Pear Pizzazz, and then fussy cut those out and just layered it right on top. Let's go ahead and add our puffy roof line to the top as well. So cute. That puffy paint really just makes those houses pop. So the next thing we're going to do is create something that wasn't part of the stamp set. We're going to do these little cute candy striped sides to our houses. And I wanted these to be two-toned, and so I decided to use the Stampin' Blend markers. And if you don't have these, you could also use Stampin' Write markers. That would work too. And I just have some scratch paper here, and I'm going to create kind of like a little candy stripe with my markers. And these are this is my polished pink marker set. And then I'm also going to use my Bermuda Bay. So I have the dark, and then I have the light. And you can make them as thin or as thick as you want. And then you're going to take your paper trimmer and cut them down into smaller strips. And I just did 2 strips that were 1/4 of an inch. And then just added these to the back with a little bit of liquid adhesive. So this is the back of my peppermint, which is the one I want with the pink stripes. So just put a little bit of liquid glue right along the edge of your house. And then you can just take your peppermint stick and tuck that where you want it. I'm just doing a little bit peeking out, so about 1/8 of an inch. You do want your stripes to be going the same way. They don't necessarily have to match, but you don't want them to go opposite direction. You do want them to be just a little bit larger so that you can trim off any excess. Okay, so you get this really cute detail that really makes those houses pop. It's just really fun. And we'll do the same thing here on the other one. A little liquid glue is a good adhesive here because you do want to be able to manipulate it just a little bit to make sure you have everything going the right direction and the right amount showing on both sides. So cute. Perfect little touch. So the next thing we're going to do is just create this little background for the gingerbreads to sit on. And I wanted it to be opposite of the color for the candy stripe that I added so that that really would pop. So I've got some Coastal Cabana and I cut these using my layering circle dies. And it's just the largest size. And then I'm adding it to a scallop of Bermuda Bay. And then the same for my other card. This one is Polished Pink is the circle, and the scallop is Melon Mambo. So I can go ahead and add my gingerbread to my blue one, and I'm just going to place that right in the center. Just like that. And then I'm going to place my second one on in the center of this circle as well. This one I'm just going to place a little bit lower. So this one, the two corners touch, and this one, the top of the house just comes off just slightly. All right, so those are ready for my card. So let's work on the backgrounds. So the card bases for both cards are Sahara Sand. I wanted a very light neutral color that would coordinate well with the crumb cake, but I didn't want it to be too dark. I really love the bright colors of these cards, so I didn't want it to darken the colors at all. So both of those are just your normal size card bases. For my first card, I am using a piece of vellum from the Snowflake specialty vellum pack. And this one, these are the dots on the background. The piece that I'm using is 4 inches by 5.5 inches. So it's going to be just a little smaller width-wise. And then the length of the card is a full length. And you can change up that size as much as you want. I just really wanted to make sure that I saw it behind these larger elements, the circle and the gingerbread. And what I'm doing right now is just randomly adding some really small liquid glue dots behind the little velvet dots. They have this really like felt velvety look to them. All right, so this just goes right in the center of my card base, edge to edge, with a slight border on the top and bottom. And once that's in place, you can open it up and just do a very light pressure on the inside to make sure that everything is where you want it to be. Okay, so there's the first one. Do the exact same thing to this second card here. This piece is 3 inches by 4 inches, so it's a little bit smaller. I'm going to apply it just the same way. The nice thing about having these little dots is that it hides the adhesive behind the vellum, and you just need a little bit. And this just goes right in the center. There should be an even border on all sides and the top and bottom. And then once that's in place, you can go ahead and do the same thing. Just like that. So now we can add our circles to our card. So again, you're going to want to use liquid glue here because there's this texture. You want to make sure you get a nice strong bond. And that's just going to go on the left side of center. You want to leave about a finger length there, finger width, I guess. And it should go a little closer to the top. So maybe about 3/4 of an inch or so on the left side. Make sure everything is nice and even, and then smooth that out. And then for our second card, we're going to do the same thing, but this time we're going to push it off center very close to the edge of the card base. Again, make sure everything's nice and even and leveled. And there we go. Just like that. Super cute card. All right, so the next step for these cute cards is to cut out these really beautiful velvety snowflakes, and they're also in this snowflake specialty vellum pack. Can you see all those pretty snowflakes? There are 2 snowflake patterns and then the dots that we used. And then there's also shimmery paper as well. Not just all of them are like a felt. So really fun pack of paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fussy cut out 3 snowflakes. And I've already got 2 of them done. And I want 2 of this shape here. So I've already done kind of the petal one. So I'm just going to go in here and I'm first going to just remove it from the paper. Hopefully you can see this as I'm cutting it out. So I've just removed the pattern that I want, the snowflake shape, and then you're just going to carefully fussy cut this out. It can be a little tricky since the vellum is very see-through, so it's kind of hard sometimes to see where you're cutting. So just take your time and follow this shape. Sometimes it's easier to look at it over a dark table or cardstock so that you can kind of see where the felt is versus the vellum, because we want to go right along the edge of the flocking or felt or velvet, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so you'll get something that looks like that. And we are going to add this to our card in just a minute. So a couple other things I need to add to this card before we are ready for the snowflakes. And that is this really cute fence. And I have already cut that out using some of the snowy white velvet sheets. So it has that same texture as the dots and the snowflake. And I have added some adhesive sheets to the back before I cut it out. And that's just going to make adding it to some cardstock really easy. So I only want the green to show, I don't want it above that little scallop. I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. So I'm adding it to some cardstock. The reason I'm adding it to cardstock is to make it easier to pop up. So you can see that I've left the green away from the top. So I've only added it so that it covers up the scallop. Then I'm going to take a pair of paper snips and just trim it right along the edge here. And the reason I'm not going to use my paper trimmer is because it's very delicate and I want to get right up close to that edge and I don't want to accidentally cut my die. And then just come onto the sides and trim those off. And this is Pear Pizzazz cardstock and it is 5.5 inches. Okay, so you can see how that looks. And now it's going to be really easy to add it to our card. So another fun detail that I want to add to this strip is a little bit of the polished pink ribbon. So this is an open weave ribbon, so it's got a see-through center to it. And I want just one of these solid edges to show peeking out from underneath the green. So I'm just going to add it right to the back of that card base or cardstock And you can see we've got just a little bit of pink peeking out. I adhered it with some tear and tape and then just even up the edges. And I am going to pop it up with some dimensionals. Place them on the ends. And then I'm just going to eyeball where I want it to go. So right about there, I want a little bit of that blue peeking out. And then I can eyeball where I should place another couple dimensionals. So one there and one straight across. Then take off the paper backing and you can pop that on to your card. And you do want to make sure it's nice and even. So if you have a grid paper, you can use that for placement. So it's about 1 inch from the bottom of the card. Just like that. It's looking so cute. All right, a couple more things. I wanted to use the Have a Sweet Christmas greeting. So I've stamped some gum drops in polished pink that I'm going to tuck right here on the left and right side of my gingerbread house. And then I'll put my other one on after I add my snowflake. So let's do that now. So I've got one snowflake that I'm going to place. I've got dimensionals on the back, and I'm going to place it here on the top left corner, just kind of trying to decide how I want it to look. Something like that. And then, of course, trim off any excess. Okay, so you'll have something that looks like that from that one. And then the same shape we're going to put down here at the bottom. And I am going to use a little liquid glue right in the center just to hold it to the fence. So I've placed it behind the velvet part of that snowflake. And you can place it anywhere near and over your fence, near your it might need something a little stronger. It may need a little glue dot or something. Let's do that. So just grab a glue dot. I'm going to pop that right in the center there. Maybe. It's not wanting to stick today. Probably because it has the glue on it and it's making it slippery. There we go. We'll try it again. I can feel the glue getting a little more tacky, so that's good. So just down there, and we'll put our greeting over that too, so it's just kind of a fun element. And now we can tuck in the rest of our gumdrops. I'll just start on the edge here. It's just kind of another fun little detail to add to the card. And again, those all have dimensionals on them. All right, so we'll get to the greeting in just a minute. Let's jump back over to our second card and we'll add our trees. So I've done 2 different greens here. I have stamped them in Granny Apple Green as well as Pear Pizzazz. So we get a dark and a light. And you can tuck those near the little gingerbread house. Maybe put one right there. You can have them be at different angles, different heights, however you want. Okay, so something like that. I love the green against the bright pink. That's really pretty. And then let's also add our little snowflake. And I've added dimensionals just to 3 of the petals because I want to kind of tuck this in behind these elements, and then that can kind of pop off onto the card base there. Super cute. Okay, so let's do some ribbon. So usually when I do ribbon, I do a faux bow. However, I wanted there, because the ribbon is thicker, I really wanted it to be gathered together. So I'm just going to do a regular bow here. And I'm just going to tie it right off of, tie it right off the spool so that I'm not wasting too much ribbon. So you do want to have a nice big ribbon, maybe about 1.5 inch size bows. And then you can bring your tails down and trim them at an angle together so that they're about the same distance. And the greeting that I'm using for my first card is Have a Sweet Christmas, which really pulls in that cute candy and the gumdrops. And I want this bow to be placed just in the bottom corner. So I'm just going to kind of fiddle with it just a little bit to get it to look the way I want it to. And then I'll add it with some glue dots. Into the bottom right corner right there. Let's turn it this way. So once you have the ribbon where you want it, you can add your greeting to your card with dimensionals. And I am going to add them to all the corners to make sure it's held on really nicely, but not over the ribbon because that needs some space. Let's see, here's the card. And then that will just get popped on right over that snowflake and our gingerbread house just a little bit. I'm going to tuck that underneath so it doesn't pop out too much. There we go. And your first card is all done. Super cute. Let's put that off to the side and we'll do card number 2. This one I wanted to pull in some blue, and I have the pool party. This is the sheer ribbon. Let me double check. Yep, the sheer ribbon, the pool party. And again, just going to make a bow right off the spool. And I want it to go from the bottom left corner to the top right corner. So like that. So stick it on, and then you can kind of adjust and play with it a little. And then you're going to add dimensionals to the corners of this as well. And you can put them over the ribbon just to kind of hold things in place if you want. So that goes down at the bottom. You do want it to come off of the right side just a little bit. And that card is all done. I love decorating these cute houses. There's so many possibilities with different colors and different shapes. Well, I hope you have enjoyed watching me create these 2 beautiful cards using the Sweet Gingerbread Bundle that I created for the Stampin' Up! Social media pages for October 2022. If you're interested in getting written instructions or seeing close-up images of how I created these cards, you can visit my blog, creativechelsea.com. If you'd like to purchase any of the products you've seen me use today, please use the link to my online store below. Thanks so much for watching. Have a creative day. Bye.